Hey there, comic book fans. I'm back from the comic shop again this week. It was a pretty big week for me, 5 comics. And it's almost warm out. I'm down to only 2 layers. I don't have my big thermal over me anymore. Let's see if it stays that way. But it was actually a pretty busy night at the comic shop this week. Usually, when I go on a Thursday night, it's pretty quiet because the pardon me, shop closes at 6 and we get there about 5. As my friend Rob and I and John, who's working at the shop. Usually we're the only 3 in the shop, but today there was another. Matter of fact, I recently met only about a month ago a friend who Rob and I went to high school with. Started going to the comic shop. We're like, didn't know he'd collect. Haven't seen him since high school. Didn't know he collected comics in high school. Now he shows up at the comic shop and buys old Bronze Age books. Plus, there were like 3 other people. Sometimes we see the same people at the comic shop. But like I said, usually Thursday nights are quiet, the hour before closing. But there was a good half dozen of us in there gabbing today. So my voice is extra gravelly. Let's see. Let's have a little water. And also, one guy bought, I think it was 10 different Detective Comics 1000 covers. He spent $100 on Detective Comics 1000. I was like, whoa. And I might make a video of it. Let me know if you want to see it. I found a file with 83 of the covers in it, digitally, not the, just someone, I guess, put together all 83 digital covers. And I think I did that for Action Comics, but it was only about 12 covers, so I don't know how I'm going to make it through 83 covers if I decide to make a video of it. But if you want to see that video, let me know. Okay, the first thing we got was the luxury reprint of the week. This is the facsimile edition of the Incredible Hulk 181. It's $3.99 rather than the $1 True Believers edition, and that's because it reprints the ads. Other than that, I don't know. So if you want the Marvel Value Stamp, there it is. They reprint the Marvel Value Stamp. This might be the first edition that the Marvel Value Stamp was reprinted in. I'm not even sure. I know I have other reprints of it, but I don't remember any of them reprinting them with the ads. Otherwise, it's the same Hulk 181 you've seen reprinted a lot of times, but I just decided I wanted the $4 reprint. I already have the True Believers one, but I thought this was pretty cool, so I don't think I've passed up on all the facsimile editions so far, because $4 is a little too much for an impulse purchase of a reprint, but I went for this one. Then we've got Cerebus the Aardvark, SimCity, that issue after. The last Cerebus was SimCity. This one right here. Let's see if we can get it. I actually liked that one a lot. He kind of redid the format he did this, format. The usual format is these 4 panels. And for the SimCity one, he had mixed up the layouts and everything like SimCity. So that was actually that was one of my favorites of them. Butta. Machine guns going off. But I enjoy these. The Roy, who runs the comic shop, who owns the comic shop, but it's a part-time job for him. He, since every issue is a new number 1, you have to put every issue on my pull list. So he just orders like 3 issues. I think he gets this, I get this, and maybe one other guy in the store gets it. So when John was ringing it up today, of course, it wasn't on my pull list officially, the UPC thing. And he's like, what? He's like, how come this isn't on your pull list? I'm like, well, every issue is a new number 1, so Roy just orders 3 and puts 1 in my bag. You can't, it's less trouble than entering it into the computer every month. And every few months, Roy goes, "You still enjoying that Cerebus?" I'm like, "Sure, keep getting it for me." So even though it's like I said, if I had to put this on my pull list every month, it would be a real pain. But Roy just goes, "Okay." And speaking of my pull list, here is the Goon number 1. This came out 2 weeks ago, and I think I mentioned, I think it was on the Masked Panthers channel, he showed this off, and I was like, The Goon came out? I was like, I couldn't remember if I put it on my pull list or not. I was like, usually I get an email every week that tells me what's coming in, and sometimes they get shorted, but for some reason, I had the same trouble with the Hillbilly. It would not always show up in the email, and it would almost always, Diamond would short them on it because there wasn't a lot of, once again, when there's not a lot of copies coming into the store. I guess Diamond just shorts them on. Well, I guess they short them on like big things too. But yeah, I was like, oh, I guess I did put them on my pull list, so I'll be reading The Goon. I kind of just gave up on it when I was like, is it on my pull list or not? I don't know. Well, if it shows up in 2 weeks, I'll read it. Otherwise, So here it is. I'll be reading it. Then we've got Snot Girl. What issue number is this? Number 13. Join Snot Girl. What's funny is the writer on this, Brian Lee O'Malley, is the guy from Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, which I had never read. And just a few weeks ago, I think I got like the free first volume on the Amazon or something was giving away on the Kindle or whatever. And I was like, oh, why don't I finally read Scott Pilgrim? I'm very much enjoying Snot Girl, drawn by, what's her name, Leslie Hung. Very much enjoying Snot Girl. Weird story about a fashion blogger. But I couldn't even make it through the first volume of Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, or whatever the name of it is, Scott Pilgrim. I probably read 20 pages into it and was like, I don't like this at all. Why does everyone think it's so great? I don't understand, and just stopped reading it. So I found that really strange, being that how much I like this one. Why couldn't I get into Scott Pilgrim, the one everybody loves? Strange. But another issue of Snot Girl, we'll keep. I think it's been around for a couple of years now with only 13 issues. But as long as I keep putting them out, I'll keep buying them. And our last issue of the week is Outcast, issue number 40. This is going to 48. I just saw, speaking of 48 being the last issue, I think it was 45 is the last issue of Wicked and Divine. I just saw it was it's on the cover previews. I was like, I thought that was going to make it to 48, but it's going out at 45. But here's Outcast issue 40. The story is, this was a very slow moving story the first, year or two. And now it's really taken off. It's reaching a climax because it's ending, so it has to reach a climax. But lots of darkness, lots of demons who have taken over people's bodies. And the world at large doesn't know it. And our main character, Outcast, can cast them out. Hence, he's an outcast who can cast out. The demons are trying to move forward with their plans to all come to Earth. And these guys are stuck in some house somewhere, surrounded by the cops who are really the demons. And the rest of the world thinks thinks that our Outcast main character and the people he's with are some crazy cult. But some nice artwork by Paul Azaceta, some nice writing by Robert Kirkman. So we're going to have to see if this whole siege, what happens when this whole siege comes to a head. So, fun stuff. Been enjoying Outcast. We'll be sad to see it go. I wonder how long Snot Girl is going to last. I have no idea. I'm sure Goon is also limited to something. I don't know if I mentioned Little Bird that I bought 2 weeks ago. I was kind of iffy on it, but I put the second issue on my pull list. It's only a 5-issue mini Little Bird. But I put the second issue on my pull list. I really like the art, but the story's a little iffy. But it's I still really couldn't decide, so I put the second issue on my pull list, but not all 5. So I'll decide after I get that second issue if I'm going to keep going. Now we'll show you a little artwork. I did a couple of larger 9x12 versions of my sci-fi fantasy landscapes. I really need a catchy term for them because it's a sci-fi fantasy lands that really doesn't do it for me. But I did the small ones I showed you last time. Here are a couple of the bigger ones. I remembered I had a watercolor block this size sitting around, and I was thinking about doing one of my big 22 by 30 ones. I'm like, you know what? I remember that watercolor block. Let's try some smaller ones first before we go that big. So I did that. Also did a couple of, I really like this Dreams of Things one. I think the blue in it really really came out nice. I don't know how, it's looking better in person than it is on my iPad screen right there. But I kind of like the way this one came out. I just finished coloring this one. Whoops. I have so many things piled on my easel right now. When I'm not working on my easel, I pile things on to look at them. Because, you have to look at your work in order to be able to evaluate it. So it's a good spot to pile things on. That one's very dreamy. Getting some real dreamy stuff there. Hold on. Where'd that little guy go? I'm going to pick this up. Showed you this one last week. But there you go. Some comic books, some artwork, and you guys have a good week out there.